Why should I listen to you? You told me to start Rex Burkhead last week. Look, some mistakes were made. But for the record, here's what I looked like when Burkhead got the starting nod for the Patriots last week and had that nice run to start a game, via GIPHY. Obviously, that didn't last. And look, they went away from Burkhead and the team lost. Is it a coincidence? We may never know. So for those of you who went with Berkey last week and had it backfire on you, that's my bad. And if you think about it, the Patriots are going to need playmakers. That was evident last week, especially once Danny Amendola went out. Plus, Burkhead did get a red zone target that he failed to convert. But that's how close these guys are to flipping a bad game into a salvageable fantasy afternoon. So judge Burkhead on a case-by-case situation. And if anybody hate drops him this week, make sure to scoop him up off the waiver wire at the very least. You will want a player from a high-volume offense opposed to some of the other guys who are going to be available out there. I'd almost rather hold shares of Burkhead than any of the curtain jerkers the Cardinals are going to attempt to replace David Johnson with. Just saying. He was great last week. Can we go with him again? Mike Gilliley? Of course, you can. The Patriots are going to run the ball a lot. Partly to protect their defense. Partly to camouflage some of the injuries. Now, are the Patriots going to have 3 goal line looks this week for Old Gill? Probably not. But there will be chances. And think about this. Brady has been a slower starter in recent years. In fact, he didn't even throw his first touchdown pass until week 5 last year. Yes, I know. Let's see if others can figure it out. But I didn't get any of those guys. What now? Jacquizz Rodgers? A lot of people slept on him, but he's fallen through the cracks in a lot of leagues. And if you've held on to him, he's not a bad start this week. The Bears' defense is a tough matchup. They are no pushover, but running backs who can catch the ball will be a better option against Chicago. Tevin Coleman had 12 touches, including 4 receptions for 42 yards, when the Falcons took on the Bears last week. So I would expect a safer floor with Rodgers. Got a running back to stash? Chris Carson. Thomas Rawls is coming back and Pete Carroll said that he was raring to go. But I'm still a fan of Carson and like his long-term opportunity in Seattle. He led the Seahawks in backfield touches, but it didn't really matter much against the Packers, who were great against the run. Seattle has a great matchup against the 49ers, so he might be worth a flex in deep leagues. Got another Marlon Mack? You're so needy. But let's be honest, you don't want to start any Colts running back, just about any offensive player without Andrew Luck on the field. But Mack does provide some upside in the coming weeks when Luck returns. He showed some nice skills against the Rams in week 1. But he also had a rather embarrassing fumble out of the end zone for a safety, which is probably something his buddies clipped off and text him from time to time just to be funny. Or at least that's what my friends would do to me. Ah man, I missed out on Sam Bradford. I need a QB. Jared Goff. It's tempting to go with Carson Palmer this week against the Colts, but Palmer had a pretty good matchup last week and failed to deliver as he threw 3 picks against the Lions. Goff was much better on the other hand, with 306 passing yards and a touchdown. He looked much more poised than last year. Well, he looked like he had received coaching. That was kind of a big difference. The matchup is good against Washington, which gave up 298 passing yards to the Eagles last week. The only thing I'm concerned about is Goff going up against a hostile crowd. Yes, I know it's at the LA Coliseum. Wait until you see how many Redskins fans will be in the stands. Can you give me one more quarterback Mike Glennon revenge game? Just kidding. Here's the real QB, Joe Flacco. Flacco was not great against the Bengals, in what was essentially a preseason game. The Ravens got in control of that game so fast, they really limited what they wanted Flacco to do. That said, he will likely get in control of this game against the Browns as well, but I do like his touchdown upside. This game will be more competitive than folks will give it credit for, which would mean more passing for Flacco. He had close to 600 passing yards with 5 touchdowns and 4 picks against the Browns last year. Again, you're streaming in week 2, so don't judge me. The Patriots receiver to play this week, Chris Hogan. The Saints have one of the worst secondaries according to Pro Football Focus, and it was exposed on Monday night against the Vikings. In particular, slot receiver Adam Thielen was able to get loose in the secondary. Thielen caught 7 receptions for 146 yards out of the slot. and Hogan lead the Patriots in snaps from the slot on Thursday night. You really love this guy, don't you? Cooper Kupp watch WASNT to love this guy, looks like the real deal. He became a darling during the Senior Bowl, but folks backed off when he couldn't run as fast in his underwear at the NFL Scouting Combine. But he looked like he had a lot of chemistry with Goff in Week 1. And I know a lot of you will just shout, Colts, LAWLZ in a dismissive tone. But the coverage is always going to be drawn towards Sammy Watkins, which will give Kupp a lot of room to operate. Especially this week. I expect Josh Norman to shadow Watkins, which will be awesome for Kupp. How about another rookie receiver, Corey Davis? It will take him a bit more time to get going, but Davis came into Week 1 and garnered 10 targets, which he turned into 6 receptions for 69 yards. I don't want to get all crazy and start making comparisons to Odell Beckham Jr., who missed time during his rookie training camp with a hamstring injury. The most impressive thing about the Titans in Week 1 is their evolution into a passing team. They ran 3 receiver sets more than 75% of the time. My only concern would be that, because the Titans lost, the coaching staff goes ultra-conservative this week in what should be a low-scoring game with the Jaguars. But if you're looking for somebody with big playability for the Titans, Davis impressed in Week 1. How about a receiver stash? Paul Richardson? I know there is going to be a temptation to add one of the Jaguars' receivers in the wake of Allen Robinson's injury. But that's such a low-volume pass attack. I would rather turn my attention to a high-flying offense. And it looks like the Seahawks are going to be more pass than run this year, thanks in no small part to the offensive line. That means there are going to be some targets to go around, and Richardson was second on the team with 7 last week. And again, I like this matchup for the Seahawks this week against the 49ers. I expect some course correction coming in the totals for the Seahawks skill players. I'm so worried about Hunter Henry. Can I add another tight end, Julius Thomas? Let's talk about Hunter Henry for a moment. A huge whiff, at least in Week 1. The Chargers are using him as a blocker, which seems strange. That's like buying a pizza and using it as a door. So I might instead look at other options like Julius Thomas. I know Jay Cutler gets a bum rap about having tunnel vision for one player. But that was one season with Mike Tice as offensive coordinator. If you want to get a glimpse of how he's going to play this season, let's look at the target share of Cutler back in 2015 when coach Adam Gase was his offensive coordinator in Chicago. Alshon Jeffrey was the most targeted player that season, good for Devante Parker. But Martellus Bennett was second with 80 targets. So I expect Gase to try to corral Cutler, which could mean a lot of opportunities for JT. Let's get defensive. Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens' defense looked great against Cincinnati. I mean, they pretty much stole the fantasy football soul of Andy Dalton, who gave you negative points. The Ravens were third in NFL.com scoring for DST and were owned in just 13% of leagues on Tuesday. Probably gone now. If you can get the Ravens, the Raiders are a good option. It's not too late to play NFL Fantasy. Join a Creator League for free. Follow Adam Rank on Twitter at AdamRank.